Hello everyone, this is Aryan Thakkar, your coach and mentor, and welcome back to my YouTube channel on Aryan Tutorials, where in this video we are going to take up your ISC Class 12's Macbeth Act 5 Scene 5 revision video. But if you haven't been through your text, then I would advise you that you first go read through your text and then come back to this insightful revision video of Scene 5 of Act 5. Now, talking about this particular scene, this scene portrays Macbeth as nihilistic. Nihilistic basically implies when a person grows indifferent to everything around him and the person considers life to be that of meaningless. What happens in this particular scene? Let's quickly get into it. The quick summary. First of all, this scene is taking place inside Dunsinane, that is in Macbeth's castle once again, where Macbeth is preparing for the upcoming battle and still clinging on to the prophecy. He's still taking reassurances from the prophecy that none of a woman born or birnam would, until and unless birnam walks towards Dunsinane, he shall not be vanquished or remain invincible. But immediately, immediately when he is contemplating on the prophecies, there is a loud cry which is heard from the other end of the stage, and then he questions that what is this cry about, to which he gets to hear that Lady Macbeth is dead. Satan goes to inquire what happened, and then he comes and tells Macbeth that Lady Macbeth, the queen, is dead. Now, how does he react? The way he reacts is very nihilistic of him to do so, because he appears very detached, he appears very cold, and at the same time he sounds very callous, as if he is unbothered, because the line which he chooses to describe Lady Macbeth death is very moving. She should have died hereafter. Aaj nahi to kal to use marna hi tha. Or it could mean that she shouldn't have died right now, because he does not have much time to sit and contemplate about this, because he is already surrounded by so much of chaos that he cannot devote his time to his wife. This shows that their relationship had completely become distant, and it is Lady Macbeth's death is a picturization, or is a portrayal of the isolation which is accompanied by unchecked ambition. ठीक है, so Macbeth reacts with numbness, despair, and not grief. He just becomes emotionally numb and void. Although there is a sense of despair, there is mixed emotion, but at the same time he has no time to repent or cry over, moan over Lady Macbeth's death. And then all of a sudden, to बोलते हैं ना कि कंगाली में आटा गीला, right? उसके लिए another messenger comes and responds. The impossible thing, that is Birnam Wood is moving towards Dunsinane Hill. So Birnam Wood is indeed moving, and that is what the messenger had seen, and he comes to report this to Macbeth, to which he immediately gets startled. He realizes that the witch's prophecy is coming true, not literally, but in terms of military strategy, which he could have interpreted, provided he would have given himself time to think upon it. However, irrespective of all the things, like his entire world has collided, has turned upside down, he resolves to continue with the battle, because what's done is done, and he cannot undo all those things which he had committed in the past. Therefore, he progresses with the battle, concludingly saying that since he's a soldier, so I'll die like a soldier. He still decides to fight till the end, because I'll fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked, which uh, makes the scene end with Macbeth's last attempt at the courage as his world collapses. So even in the final hours, like he's very soon about to meet his impending death, he still wants to die or be martyred like a soldier. So once again, I would say uh, he realigns with that old Macbeth, who was valiant and brave when he was fighting during the war at the Act 1 Scene 2. So he wants to die like a true noble warrior and does not want to give up so easily. But this time he is all isolated. He is not praised for what he has done. Rather, all that governs him is uh, condemnation from his peers, isolation, and emotional despair. ठीक है? Now, talking about critical analysis of this particular scene, here Lady Macbeth's death is basically a portrayal of emotional collapse. Lady Macbeth's death is not shown directly, rather, Shakespeare decides to keep it secret off stage, because the focus is Macbeth's inner response rather than Lady Macbeth's death. In other words, Macbeth's cold response is what Shakespeare is trying to highlight through this particular scene. And then Macbeth's reaction is terrifyingly hollow. Ambition has already killed his humanity. Like, his vaulting ambition has taken him so far that he has become incapable of feeling any sort of emotional pain towards his wife, which shows that once a partners in crime now have become partners in ruin, and that too separated ruin. They both have to go through their tortures separately. Okay? At the same time, there is a very famous soliloquy which is spoken, uttered here by Macbeth, that is tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow. This represents existential realization. In other words, he's going through an existential crisis at this point, where Macbeth's most famous soliloquy, he sees life as repetitive, as meaningless, and as leading only to death. In other words, umbrella term is life is nothing but just uh, it is just nothingness which governs the life. Okay? It is just the nothingness, or rather, you can say emptiness. Yeah, it is the emptiness which governs the life. Because Macbeth once had purpose and honor, and now he has only emptiness, emotional void. Shakespeare turns Macbeth from tyrant to that of a tragic philosopher in this particular scene. Please use this in your answer. Shakespeare turns Macbeth from tyrant to that of a tragic philosopher. Now, talking about the fate which is at hand, which is near to come and strike Macbeth directly, charge at Macbeth directly. So the messenger line shatters Macbeth's delusion that Birnam Wood is moving. Macbeth realizes that witch's words were technically true but deliberately misleading. Please use this in your answer. The witch's words were technically true but deliberately, janbujke, they were misleading. They were all fabricated to lure Macbeth into his downfall. Okay? This proves that the witches were able to manipulate through half laced prophecies, through half prophecies. Now, the dramatic irony and tragic structure of the play is that of this particular scene is that audience has waited for the prophecies to collapse, because हम लोगों को पहले से ही पता था that this is something like this is already going to happen, where the scene is the breaking point. Like, finally the ice breaks over here, and as audience we get the confirmation that prophecies indeed were nothing but just cryptic or ambiguous. So Macbeth's confidence is destroyed, completely shattered over here, and this play moves from psychological tragedy to a violent catastrophe which is still impending, which is yet to take place in the later scene, when Macbeth shall be confronting Macduff into battle. And then Macbeth's last words, his last courage. Even after despair, Macbeth chooses to fight. Once again, reclaiming, chooses to fight means once again reclaiming his valiant attribute. Attribute means characteristic. What he once was in Act 1, Scene 2. Take care. He was a brave and a valiant soldier. So he chooses to fight. This creates a complex response. He is guilty, but at the same time, he is brave, which justifies him as a tragic hero. Tragic hero. Okay, in spite of his vaulting ambition and whatsoever he did, but his his resolve, his determination to fight till his bones be hacked from his body shows that he is a tragic hero. Tragic, but flawed he's a flawed but a tragic hero at the same time. Okay, this is important. Please use this in your answer. Now, talking about the character sketch of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth in this particular scene, at this particular point in time, Macbeth is emotionally void, numb, mentally exhausted, and philosophically awakened, where he considers life to be that of meaningless. He becomes a tragic figure again and recognizes the emptiness of life, yet he refuses to surrender because of pride and warrior spirit at the same time, coupled together. And Macbeth, destroyed by ambition and fate, that is that comes to a full circle. In other words, that gets fulfilled. It was because of his ambition and at the same time his fate which marked his tragic downfall, and of course his free will as well. He could have chosen the path like Banco, but he did not. He rather gave into his vaulting ambition, which led to his tragic, which will lead to his tragic end in the upcoming scene. And talking about Lady Macbeth, her death symbolizes guilt's victory, psychological punishment, and she's destroyed by her own conscience, which she tried to suppress once upon a time. It came It haunted her and it led to her permanent end. And talking about the themes of this particular scene, Lady Macbeth's death proves that guilt destroys from within. Macbeth का ambition proves that he has gained the crown but also lost meaning. Meaning means बोलते हैं ना the fruit, that you reap the fruits, reap the benefit of that crown. बोलते हैं ना कि आपके पास अगर बहुत पैसा धन आ भी जाए, लेकिन अगर आप बहुत कंजूस भी होते हो ना, तो आप उस धन को भोग नहीं पाते हो. उसी वे में अगर आपके अंदर बहुत ज्यादा इच्छा, मतलब कुछ पाने की लालसा, दैट इज एम्बिशन आ जाए, बहुत ज्यादा एम्बिशियस अगर आप हो जाओ, तो कभी कभी दैट ऑल्सो लीड्स टू योर ओन डाउनफॉल. ठीक है. And then fate versus free will is also at play. Macbeth's choices brought him here to the stage where prophecy tightens the trap now. And life, death, and meaning. Tomorrow's speech that tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Life is meaningless without any morality for Macbeth now. And at the same time, there is appearance versus reality through Birnam wood walking. Prophecies seem to be protective, but in reality, they were the weapons. And in the same manner, Birnam wood walking, which is a military strategy of camouflage, that also aligns with the appearance versus reality, but for a noble cause. For a noble cause. Take care, bear that thing in mind. Talking about some of the key quotation that you should be using. The queen, my lord, is dead. She should have died hereafter. It is one of the most chilling line where Macbeth's numbness and his detached uh, his detached relationship with Lady Macbeth is portrayed through this particular line. She should have died hereafter. Some of the other quotations are tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps in this petty face from day to the last syllable of the recorded time. Life is just like a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury signifying nothing. So this entire speech of Macbeth captures hopelessness, monotony, meaninglessness, mechanical. He has become insubstantial. At the same time, he has become nihilist. If I were to give you an umbrella term to encapsulate the entire meaning of the speech, it means nihilistic. Nihilistic is a person who becomes emotionally detached from everything, emotionally, physically, socially detached from everything. And at the same time, as I did stand my watch upon the hill, methought the wood began to move. That is the fulfilling of prophecy. I pull in resolution and begin to doubt the equivocation of the fine. This is by Macbeth, where he finally understands that witches were never working in his favor. And then at last we will die like with a harness, and I'll fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked. It is basically, in spite of his downfall, he still doesn't want to give up at the end and wants to die like a brave soldier. Some of the lines which you definitely should use in your answers to elevate the style of writing is: Macbeth's response to Lady Macbeth's death reveals emotional numbness and the final stage of moral decay. बहुत अच्छा लाइन है, इसको यूज करिएगा. The tomorrow's soliloquy transforms Macbeth into a tragic philosopher confronting the void he himself created. वो कमी, वो emptiness जो उसने खुद अपने लिए गड्ढा खोद के बनाया. And Shakespeare presents time as mechanical in this particular scene and life as meaningless when severed from moral purpose. Severed का मतलब होता है separated. Severed means separated from moral purpose. जब ambition हो लेकिन वो morally किसी चीज के साथ जुड़ा हुआ ना हो और it gets disjoint with morality, it automatically leads to downfall. And then the moving wood collapses Macbeth's prophetic illusion and exposes the witch's equivocation. Equivocation means double standard, कि वो लोग हमेशा दो मुही बातें ही करती थी. ठीक है. And Macbeth's courage at the end is not hope, it is rather pride driven defiance. In spite of being doomed, it is his pride and at the same time his disturbed frame of mind which propels or compels him to continue with the battle. Macbeth's courage, okay, that is done. And the scene mark shifts from the psychological tragedy to an inevitable means inescapable catastrophe. Catastrophe is downfall or something which is, I would say, apocalyptic, total destruction. ठीक है. So, in conclusion, Act 5, Scene 5 is emotional and philosophical climax of the entire drama. Emotional and philosophical climax of the entire drama where Macbeth loses Queen, loses prophetic certainty, and at the same time confronts the terrifying emptiness of a life built on blood. In other words, he becomes nihilistic by the end of this particular scene. ठीक है? And I hope this video helps. If you're liking my content, then please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Have a great time preparing for your examination. Take care. Bye bye. I'll see you in my next video.